My name is Joan Gandarillas and Rafael Cordero Salazar, and we're going to talk about why in some first world countries marijuana is legal and why does it have a bad reputation from social concepts in Mexico, believing it is harmful. The legalization of drugs has been a complex topic that society has come across throughout the years, and there is no exception that Mexico has been affected in the same way. Mexico has been key in the worldwide spread of marijuana and use of cannabis culture. Cannabis first entered the New World by the Spaniards when the conquest took place, and it has not left ever since. Over the centuries, it became more popular that even Pancho Villa consumed marijuana during the Mexican Revolution until 1920, where Mexico banned cannabis thanks to a US campaign that outlawed marijuana and demonized Mexican immigrants.
Cannabis was known notorious cartels. It got started in the states of Sinaloa, Chihuahua, and Durango. Subsequently, the production of marijuana and opium have risen to international drug lords and the emerge of drug cartels. With this historic introduction, it is known that Mexico does not have a good reputation with marijuana, but it is illegal because it is harmful to our health or because it already has social misconception within the society of this country.
On the other hand, many thriving countries like Canada, Netherlands, South Africa, and some states of the United States have legalized marijuana and even have been able to control it in an efficient and non harmful way. There are several valid arguments which indicate that the use of marijuana is not nocive and support the idea of the legalization and consumption of the same substance. Studies suggest that marijuana consumption carries several benefits of chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, and chemotherapy-induced nausea and vomiting, some other symptoms. Furthermore, it is much safer than already legalized drugs like alcohol. A study carried from The Lancet, a team of experts in the UK, addressed the harm of alcohol versus cannabis, and it is much more probable that a person consuming alcohol is capable of harming others or a self harm. Another benefit of legalizing marijuana is that it can be useful as a sleep aid for people who have insomnia or any other conditions. Countries that have legalized marijuana because scientists and doctors have shown that it is not a getaway drug and it has a very low risk of abuse. There is no correlation between marijuana users and harder used druggers. Dr. Sanjay Gupta, as CNN's chief medical correspondent, wrote in his essay, Why I Changed My Mind About Weed, that society has systematically misled on marijuana. Around 9 to 10% of marijuana users depend on them. Meanwhile, 30% of tobacco users become addicted. It is important to note that not a single death of marijuana overdose has been recorded through human history, while 60% of drug overdoses were related to prescription drugs. Countries where marijuana is legalized, like Canada, have demonstrated that there are substantial benefits for the economy. But in order to achieve legalization in Canada, the country had to go through a complex process of rules and regulations. The legal cannabis industry in Canada has shown tremendous promise. The past few years have been huge growth for marijuana companies across the country, and it's beneficial since there is no violence from drug cartels behind.
In the other hands, since the 1920s, the Mexican government dictated certain rules that regulated, prohibited, or criminalized production, possession, distribution, medical prescription, sale, and consumption of certain substances such as marijuana. In the middle of the 19th century, there is an emphasis made in the perception of the use of marijuana and the behaviors of the consumers. A few European doctors called marijuana as a powerful drug. These drugs became illegal in time due to the extreme use of them and the lack of responsibility while using it. People started using marijuana not for medical purposes or a moderated way, but instead would see the abuse and the use of the drug also in minors, which the Mexican government considered health nocive. In this process, opinions were made, including the use of moral, hygiene, education, practical labor, the press, and arguments around doctor speeches. The use of drugs also increased the lack of hygiene. desnutrition, venereal diseases, bad formations, hereditary alcoholism, and the really bad use of drugs. Now, there are countries that have already legalized marijuana for their own consumption, but in small doses. But there are first world countries which are completely advanced against countries like Mexico, who aren't ready to legalize this. Well, in conclusion, I think that Mexico isn't ready to legalize marijuana. To be honest, we don't have the culture and the manners to have a responsible consumption of the drug. The drug isn't bad, as Johan said, beginning on the fact that we have a lot of surface and it's extremely difficult having a controlled and good acquisition of the drug.
Well, I believe that it would be better to legalize marijuana in Mexico because it will reduce a lot of corruption and the drug wars between cartels within the country. Also, if we're honest, we know that even if the drug is illegal, people manage to buy it and consume it and behind the law. So if we do it legalized, it would not be against it. We know the damage wrought by prohibition in Mexico throughout the years, and the only way to repair it is by legalizing it.